I did it. I am live. Wee! I am live. Oh my gosh, there's two people here. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. It is so good to be live and with you all this morning. And in about, let's see here, 7 minutes, we're going to start in earnest. So, and who's Ernest, you might ask? I'm not really sure, but we're going to find out. In the meantime, let me know if you can hear me. Let's see. I think it's all good. But please, yeah, let me know. Let me know if you can hear me. Um, wow. So everybody, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you all doing today? I would love to hear how you're doing. Um, we're going to talk in a second about life in the midst of pandemic and what that has to do with our sermon reading this morning. But it's going to be a good day. I have a good feeling. Woke up this morning with my mind. Dee 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 dee. All right. Let's see. Good morning. Good morning. It's great to stay up late. Good morning to you. And this is just like walking around being a dope singing, because there's really not much else to do right before a service. If this was a service in person, there would be like amazing music because I got to tell you, Archwood, there's some amazing musicians at Archwood, and Hans and Jacob do a great job like every single week, and I really look forward to hearing their music again shortly. So, all right. Cool. So there's two of us here still. No, three people. Hello, welcome. Welcome, new person. Hello, Terry. Good morning. Good morning, Terry. And can you hear me? This is the important question. Can you hear me? Let's find out. I hope that is the case. So, good morning to everyone. I'm going to try to make this like a little bit interactive today. So please do respond in comments. Yep, you can hear me. Excellent. It's working. We have technology. So good. Okay. And I posted a picture of what this looks like on my Instagram, and it's actually really ridiculous what I have in front of me holding up my camera and everything. It's an ongoing process. I mean, we learn as we go. I think no one expected this pandemic quite as how it's hit us, really. So, all right. Well, we're gonna get started here in just about 4 minutes. And it's so good to have folks with me this morning. All three of you, hello, hello, hello. Let's see here. I suppose I should continue talking. It's really not exciting to sit here and watch me click at things, is it? So, coming to you from beautiful Willowick, Ohio, and it's good to be here this morning. And we're going to start this morning in a few moments here with a chant, and I would appreciate if y'all would sing along with me. So I will teach it to you, and then we're gonna sing it. And of course, like I'm leaving it up to you to actually do the thing where you sing it. Um, that's entirely up to you. Uh, but I will trust Scout's honor and that kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, Terry, one of my congregants says that like learning new things, learning new technology, it kind of like goes against the idea that old dogs can't learn new tricks because I think like a whole bunch of us have had to learn a whole bunch of new things including this week, like I've looked into streaming, like different live streaming services where eventually I can have like text up here and I can be playing music and there can be like transitions in the middle of the live streaming. And I figured that out for Twitch, but not for YouTube. So that's something that I'm thinking about and working on right now. So, oh my gosh, there are 5 of us. Hello. Hello, everyone. It's like Sunday morning up in here. It's great. Oh, it's so good to see everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello, Danielle. How's it going? Nice to see ya. Oh my gosh. So good to have everybody with me. This is the coolest. All right, so hello. Hello, everybody. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I know we're like a minute, but I'm so excited. I'm full of anticipation and excitement to worship with you all this morning and to do so like live and in person. This is not a recording. I am talking to you live. And so, as one of my friends says, I'm going to lay down my thing live for you all right here, moved by the Holy Spirit and by your presence with me. And I'm just thrilled to do that. So, welcome to my online ministry. I am Saint Sparklebear, aka Aiden. I am one of the worship leaders at Archwood United Church of Christ, and that is the capacity in which I speak with you this morning. And we are so excited to have you with us this morning. Archwood United Church of Christ is this astounding congregation on the near west side of Cleveland, and I am joined this morning by a bunch of people from Archwood, and hopefully some other folks who are not from Archwood will join us soon. And it's just so good to have y'all with us. So now, when the pandemic's not going on, Archwood does some tremendous ministry in the community. It is on the near west side of Cleveland, and they do great work with the community of people there. So definitely check out their website. I've posted it below, and see all of the amazing things that Archwood is getting up to, because they are just like the coolest group of people I think ever. So, and I have the privilege of talking to them every other week and just like talking about these stories, these Bible stories that we all know, we all love. We've all maybe we don't all love them, but many of us, we have this familiarity. It's part of our heritage. It's part of our spiritual lives. It's part of our lexicon. And so like I'm going to take those stories, and what I do with these folks is just unpack them, and not necessarily from a Christian perspective. Certainly, like I come from a Christian place, but now it's much more like I try to be like science informed and base things in the realities in which we now find ourselves. And I find that these texts really do lend themselves very well to that. But to start this morning, now that I've gone on and babbled, this is the problem with live streaming. But to start this morning, I'm going to start with a chant. And this chant is it's by a guy named Philip Porter, and it is in the Unitarian Universalist hymnal. And it goes a little something like this. And I'm going to sing it once, and you all can join me, and we'll sing it through together, I think about 3 or 4 times. All right. So it goes like this. It says, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. All right, join me if you would. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. And one more time. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near, Spirit, draw near. And hopefully the Spirit is here with you today as it is here with me. And I'm glad to be here with you. This morning, I wanted to begin with a reading by a theologian and storyteller named John O'Donohue. And he's a favorite of mine. And this opening reading, it's from this book, which is called To Bless the Space Between Us. And it is a book of blessings. That is the subtitle, A Book of Blessings. And so that is what it is. And so this blessing that I'm going to be reading is a blessing for grief. And I think that a lot of us might be experiencing grief right now in ways that are unexpected or in ways that we would never have anticipated. And so for us to honor that grief and talk about that with one another is really important. And so, For Grief by John O'Donohue. When you lose someone you love, your life becomes strange. The ground beneath you gets fragile. Your thoughts make your eyes unsure, and some dead echo drags your voice down, where words have no confidence. Your heart has grown heavy with loss, and though this loss has wounded others too, no one knows what has been taken from you. When the silence of absence deepens, flickers of guilt kindle regret for all that was left unsaid or undone. There are days when you wake up happy, again inside the fullness of life, until the moment breaks and you are thrown back onto the black tide of loss. Days when you have your heart back, you're able to function well, until in the middle of work or encounter, suddenly, with no warning, you are ambushed by grief. It becomes hard to trust yourself. All you can depend on now is that sorrow will remain faithful to itself. More than you, it knows its way and will find the right time to pull and pull the rope of grief until that coiled hill of tears has reduced to its last drop. Gradually, you will learn acquaintance with the invisible form of your departed. And when the work of grief is done, the wound of loss will heal, and you will have learned to wean your eyes from that gap in the air and be able to enter the hearth in your soul, where your loved ones wait and have awaited your return all the time. Where our loved ones wait and have awaited our return all the time. And today we are feeling a lot of grief. We're feeling grief toward many things. We're feeling grief toward our nation, as we all confront this. We're feeling grief toward within ourselves as we lose things in our own life. Maybe it's employment, maybe it's a family member, but grief is present for us right now. And we are not alone in that. And it's something that I think over the next few months, it's important for us to be vulnerable and talk about our grief that we're experiencing, because it's true. It's true to this experience. We're losing something right now. We're all losing something. And so with that in mind, I'm going to move to the reading from John. And this reading is about Thomas, or as he's kind of like colloquial known, doubting Thomas. And we're going to talk in a moment about doubt and kind of how doubt and grief interweave, and what we can do about them. But first, the reading. This is the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 19 through 31. When it was evening on that day, the first day of the week, and the doors of the house where the disciples had met were locked for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. Then the disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord. Jesus said to them again, "Peace be with you." As the Father has sent me, so I send you." When he said this, he breathed on them and said to them, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained." But Thomas, who was called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. And so the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the marks of the nails in his hands and put my fingers in the marks of the nails at his side, I will not believe." A week later, Jesus' disciples were again in the house, and Thomas was with them. Although the doors were shut, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your fingers here and see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it in my side. Do not doubt, but believe." Thomas answered, "My Lord, my God." And Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe." Now, Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written so that you may come to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that through believing you may have life in his name. And that ends our reading. So my first question to you all this morning is, hello to the 11 people that have joined me. Hi, everybody. What's up? So my first question to you all, and please feel free to comment in the comment box because I'm checking it right now in the moment. Woohoo. So what are you all doing with yourselves during this pandemic? Like, what are you doing to pass the time? What are you doing to distract yourselves? Um, and please do comment. For me, what I'm doing right now is gardening, and I am really into gardening. And I never thought that I would be a gardener. It was not something that I had ever planned for myself. I was not particularly into dirt. I've always been kind of like a bit of a neat freak and not really into mess and dirty, messy things. So the fact that yesterday I spent the whole day with my hands in a bag of potting soil, repotting my tomato transplants and singing to them and being very excited. This is weird for me. This is weird. Um, but there's something to it. There's something about the idea that I am creating life or that I'm doing something in this moment, where all around us we see, of course, we have pandemic, we have disease, but we also have division being sown and all of this fear and uncertainty. And so in this moment, like to be planting, to be doing something like that, it's been feeling really good. But I also know, when I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I realized that like the reason that I am focusing so much on planting, on making my garden blossom and bloom, with tomatoes and gourds and whatnot, um, is because in many ways I'm trying to avoid uh, the reality in which we find ourselves. It's a very scary prospect, like here we are in the midst of this moment of complete uncertainty. And so many of the institutions that we would have formerly trust to handle things are unraveling around us. And there's this lack of stability. There's a lack of sort of solid ground beneath us. And the same was true of the disciples in our reading today, the reading from John, that our disciples, they were in the midst of this time after Jesus had been killed by the state. Jesus had been killed by the state for being a dissident. And so his followers were hiding away. They were fearful for their lives. And they were surrounded by a culture that felt unsafe and felt like a culture of death, in which there was no chance that life was going to be possible, that there was going to be something beyond this, that the world for the disciples was literally ending, as the world feels like it is literally ending for us right now. And in this moment, Jesus returns, and asks them to forgive and asks them for faith. And a lot of his disciples, they're more than willing to give it, but Thomas is the holdout. Thomas is the guy who he's a little bit dubious. And I really so like back in my old, my old summer school days or my like Tuesday nights, we would go to PSR, it was called, right? As a Catholic, and we would learn about the Bible readings. And Thomas was always portrayed as kind of a fool. He was kind of like, oh, that doubting Thomas, he's just gonna doubt, he's not gonna have faith. But we know the truth. We know that we should have faith, don't we? But in a moment like the disciples were in, and in a moment in which we find ourselves, uh, having faith feels a little bit like the foolish option. And it feels a little bit, like we understand Thomas. We understand his uncertainty, his unwillingness to just believe on faith that Jesus has returned, and his need for concrete physical proof of the return and of Jesus's work in the world, right? And Thomas wasn't just going to go on faith or word alone. He needed to know in the flesh that things were going to be okay, that Jesus had returned and that the kingdom had returned with him, right? That the world was not going to end, that there was something beyond this. There was life beyond that moment. So this week, I have been reading a lot of Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and she wrote a book called Women Who Run with the Wolves. And Women Who Run with the Wolves, it's a book about folklore and fairy tale and myth told from a feminist perspective. And so a lot of it is about this reclamation of the body, and this idea that we can bring, that when old institutions, when old paradigms, when old orders are falling away, when things are not making sense, that we need to listen to our bodies. We need to listen to the body, which is the earth, to really understand how to move forward in faith and in hope and in love. And and she wrote something really profound in her book, which is that where there is a wound in our individual psyches and bodies, there is a wound in the culture itself. And where there is a wound in the culture itself, finally, there is a wound in nature itself. And so Thomas needed to feel the wounds to know the truth, to be able to start the process of healing, to be able to start the process of resurrection, of new life, right? To know that Jesus was with us. And so here we are in this moment, culturally, all of us, where the wound has never been more transparent, where our cultural dis-ease has never been more clear. And each of us, in our own ways, is confronting with that. So, hi, Hans. How's it going? And Hans says that he's glad to be able to work from home, to bike and run daily, and that he and his wife have been Zooming with their family and reading and watching movies. Yes, lots of Netflix. I've been watching Star Trek Discovery. That's been the big one that I've been on recently, and that's been fun. And I've been reading a lot of sci-fi. So that's been my cool stuff. I'd love to hear from more folks what y'all are doing here to kind of like bring life in the midst of death. So Ben, one of my other congregants, he's biking a lot, and wow, 5 times a week. Yes, Ben, build up those bike legs, and you can just ride to Cleveland from Washington D.C. So yeah, so okay, so we're talking about the wound, right? The wound in the earth itself, um, and what we can do as people to repair that, to begin to repair, to begin the process of resurrection. Ooh, the dispossessed. Oh, oh my gosh. Okay, Kathy, The Dispossessed is a wonderful book. In fact, it's like right there on the pile of books that is like right over there. It's a wonderful book. That could be a sermon, that book. In fact, that book has a lot to do with what we're talking about today, you know? So yeah, so our the wound that is in our culture, it's never been more transparent to us all. And so the work of healing that wound um, is more important than it's ever been before. And the good news is that we have plenty of time for it. We have plenty of time to heal the wounds, to start to mend. Um, but we also have to contend with with the stuff that's really causing us grief, with the fear that we feel, with the uncertainty. And Thomas understands that. That's why he's doubting so much that there is the possibility of faith. It's because how can you not have doubts when all around you is death, is disease, is scary things, is people with guns on state house steps blocking ways to hospitals. It's ridiculous. It is a ridiculous time. And so to be the people who choose in that moment to be vulnerable and to mend, to do the healing work, to do the repairing work, I mean, why would we choose to do that? Why would we choose to be vulnerable? I'm gonna read my comments over here. Danielle, diving into art. Yes. Oh, Frida Kahlo inspired. That's really cool. Ukulele. Wow, neato. Um, oh, one of my congregants, Judy, is a teacher. So yay, Judy, the teacher. Woohoo. Now teaching from home. And I'm sure learning a lot of new things about doing this online stuff as we all are, right? Yes. Um, and cooking more than you have in years. Yes, cooking. That is a thing that I am doing more as well. Um, and so this Thomas story. Thomas has rightful doubts, as I think we all have rightful doubts right now. It is a time of uncertainty. It is a time of fear. And I think it's a time where a lot of us are feeling worried and don't know what to do with that. And in this moment, I think Thomas's need for concreteness, for the viscerality of life is an important one. And I think one that you can see in the comments from what we're all doing to kind of like take, spend some time. Um, but but also that in the behavior of doing something to assuage our doubts, it actually builds faith. Um, and we've talked about this a lot about the behavior of faith. That faith is not something that just comes to us. For most of us, it's not something that we just naturally have. And the same is true for Thomas. That faith requires us to be active participants in the world. It requires us to be present and listening to not only our own patterns, but also the natural world around us. And then to respond in a way that is compassionate and loving toward ourselves and toward the entire system. That and and that we have the ability to see how our individual actions can impact an entire system, right? And not only that, but how our inability to do individual actions, or the inability of a government to do actions, can impact a population so intensely. And so now is the moment for little acts of life, little acts of repair. And this is kind of related to, once again, going back to Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She talks about this idea of true aliveness in the world, that being present with the world It allows us to be present with the reverence, with the holiness, with the spirit that is within that world, and to act then on behalf of that spirit because of what we hear. So, and that is our work right now. And that was the work of the disciples way back when, as they were first encountering this world without their teacher that had been completely changed by his teachings. They wondered, how do we take this? How do we take this and make a difference with it? How do we do anything? And they were full of doubt and they were full of fear. They were fearing for their very lives, as we too are fearing for our very lives and the lives of so many around us, our neighbors, our friends, the life of our very society itself. We are fearing the death of. And yet in this moment, right, Jesus comes in and says, you don't have to fear. You don't have to doubt. I am here. I am real. I am with you. Jesus is here, is with us, is real. And how is that present? How is Jesus present? In the world, in each other, within the very heart of ourselves, all the things that are guiding us toward trying to do anything with our time other than just like sit on the couch, because it would be really easy to do that. It would be really easy to give up right now and feel fear and be stranded in that fear and in our grief. But the thing that's going to heal this, the thing that's going to move us forward, and the thing that's going to create the beloved community that we so desperately want and need and can see in our hearts, our mind's eye, the thing that's going to get us there are this daily visceral acts of being alive, truly alive in our bodies and in the body of Christ, present with one another, working with one another. We don't know what the next few months are going to bring. We don't know who we are going to be on the other side of this or what to expect. We are living in such uncertain times. That was true of the disciples as well, and certainly was true of Thomas. And he's kind of our model right now, I would say. And so our chore, I think, is to investigate life, investigate thriving. Don't shy away from your questions, from your doubt, your uncertainty, but really go into it and look at it and continue to do behaviors that combat it, that behaviors that lead us toward faith and toward love, toward one another, and not separate us, put us apart, and show us that the world is somehow not interconnected, because it is. It is the body of Christ, and we are one within it. Each and every one of us are just a small piece of a larger interconnected body, and it's up to each and every one of us to make and do the small acts of repair that will make a difference and bring about the kingdom. And what's the kingdom? What's the beloved community, right? Well, it's the thing that we all want to see happen on the other side of this, right? We want to know that people will have health care. We want to know that our family and friends will have food and housing. We want to know that that we'll start to take care of one another on a larger scale, right? With a sense of interconnection, this sense of systemic repair. And yet it starts small. It starts with each and every one of us. And it starts with our love. And it starts with our hope. And it starts with us having doubt, but sticking our fingers into the world and having our doubts and asking our questions and being zesty and true and vulnerable with those questions and vulnerable in our grief and vulnerable in our fear, because it is okay. It is okay to feel that. And that is where we are right now. All right. So I see lots of gardening. Same thing with myself. I would love pictures of people's tomatoes and such. So any plants that you have coming up, I would love to see them. I would the gardening thing. It's really cool to be gardening right now. It's interesting to see the way that the kind of the daily improvements of the plants. It's pretty neat. So, all right. Um, yes. Yeah. So a comment yeah. So before we end this, I think that Kathy just made a really good comment, and that is that we wish we had political leadership. Yeah, it would be nice to have leadership. Um, but the I was going to say that the disciples would have wanted leadership too, but their leader, he had been resurrected, he'd gone away, and they were left with themselves. They were left with this new church, this new faith, this uncertainty, uh and they didn't know what to do and how to form themselves and how to be in the spirit and with one another in community. um and it was an uncertain time, and that's the thing, is like the leadership that we seek is the leadership that we are. That all of us have this ability. We all have abilities, we all have potentials, we all have different gifts, that we can bring to this moment and lead each other out of this, right? We are the people. And yes, it would be amazing if we had like real strong political leadership. And I think that there is in some places, like definitely, like Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers. And that's true. I think we can see examples of solid political leadership happening in these times. But but yeah, we are the leaders. We are the ones that we are waiting for. We are the ones who are going to make this difference and repair and do everything we can to make sure that we all stay healthy. And we each have to do it in our own way, big or small. And a lot of us don't have a lot of power in that regard. Um, but we do have power in the regard of like how we lead by example, and also like how we support the leaders that we see, doing the good work, right? And but yeah, I think that at this point, it's the leadership that we need is not from like on high. The leadership that we need is within all of us, right? So like planting a new plant, right? You put in that root bulb, and it grows into the dirt and becomes part of it, right? But that it's not that it's it's about a network of life giving. It's about a root system rather than just the one flower. The flower is just part of it, but the root system is really what's supporting it, what's giving it life, right? The flower is just what's representing all of the roots underneath. And I think the leadership in this time is similar. We are all of the roots. We are all of, we're down there in the dirt doing everything we can to make life thrive. Um, and I believe in us. I believe in our ability to do that, because I believe in life, and I believe in the body of Christ, and our continued thriving within that body. So, yeah. So that's that. So new models of leadership. We're at this amazing time. It's the resurrect, it's beyond the resurrection. Christ has come, been resurrected. It's all new. It's a new time. Anything can happen, and we are the ones who will bring about the change. So, and hopefully we'll do it in love, right, everybody? I love love. Who doesn't love love? All right. So, it's been about 40 minutes now. I have talked for a very long time. I didn't realize I could talk this long, even though I do this a lot of the time. But thank you so much for joining me today. And I wanted to end today with Dona Nobis Pacem. And before I go into that, I would love to get your prayer requests, so please do send them, saintsparkleberry@gmail.com. I will include that down below. So if you have any prayer requests would love to hear them and include prayer in this. And other than that, it's been wonderful to have you all join with me today. And here we go. Dona nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem, pacem. Dona nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem. Go in peace, y'all. Go in peace to love and serve God, which is within all of us. I love you all. All will be well. Have a good one. Bye. How do I do this? Oh no. Well, here we go. Live streams, don't know how to quit them. This is interesting. Oh, have a good week, everybody. Oh, I didn't know that Phil Porter was a UCC minister. Thank you for that information, Hans. That's really good. All right. Peace and love. Have a good one. Bye.